So let me put all that back in this, plug everything in, and we are going to boot this up. Cool. Alright, everything's plugged in. Now, I have a feeling that this thing unfortunately might have one small flaw. I'm thinking the PRAM battery might be dead, because I think when I turn it on it's going to give the totally wrong time, because when it's hooked up to the Ethernet it always has the right time because it's hooked up to the internet, and it gets it from the internet. But when I turn it on without it plugged into the Ethernet, it just gives a really whacked out time and date. The year of the date's like 1969, which is kind of wacky. But let's turn it on and hear the all famous bong. It's gonna start up into Mac OS 10.4.11. Beautiful. Unfortunately, this is the best I could do with the refresh rate. You cannot manually set the refresh rate. You can only get what is given for each resolution. For 640 by 480, it's 117 Hertz. For 800 by 600, it's 95 Hertz. And for 1024 by 768, it's 75 Hertz. And we're running at 800 by 600 here. And there we are. And oh, what is this? Your computer's clock is set to a date before March 24th, 2001. This may cause some applications to behave erratically. Yada yada yada. Okay. So, let me set the brightness down here. That's better. December 31st, 1969. Boy, we've gone back, I tell ya. So I've been learning the Mac OS user interface, and there really ain't nothing to it. Even after I've been using, well, for the first 5 years of my life, I used MS-DOS, and then when I started school, I used Windows 3.1, and then later Windows 95, 98, 2000, XP, and now I'm using Windows 7 in school. But, let's see here. Yeah, right. It's not letting me... There we go. 2012. Not 2023. 2012. 1:30. And the time is... I think the time might be right. Let me see. Where is our clock? It is 8:59. So... 5:09. No. 5:09. There we go. Alright. Click the lock to prevent further changes. No thanks. You have changed the time and date. Yada yada yada. Save. Cool. And I'm holding the camera right-handed, so forgive me for keeping going off the screen. But the dock's a bit huge because I went from 1024 by 768 to 800 by 600. These images here are just the 4 software restore discs, so I could grab iMovie. So, yeah, I upgraded Safari. Let's do the About This Mac. There we go. Mac OS 10 version 10.4.11, 600 megahertz PowerPC G3. In terms of raw, like, performance, that's about equivalent to about probably a... Well, let me think. Probably like a gigahertz or a 1.1 or a 1.2 gigahertz Pentium 3. So not bad at all. But YouTube is just impossible because Adobe Flash is not optimized for the PowerPC at all. 512 megabytes of SD RAM. Start up this Mac OS 10. We'll start up into Mac OS 9 later. Let's see here. There's our applications. We'll open Safari here. Open it down here just so you can get an idea for the speed of this thing. you can actually hear, see, it's kind of funny, like, I've always imagined Macs to be these perfect computers that were silent, and they were just silent and beautiful. I guess that's how a lot of men like them, but bad jokes aside, you know, it's funny to hear that this thing actually has hard drive noise, but you gotta remember, Macs are PCs too, and this thing has a Maxtor hard drive with wearing bearings, and it has that classic Maxtor sound to it. I wonder if you could hear it. You might be able to hear that classic Maxtor sound, 40 gigabyte. It's a 4K 040H2 or something like that. Go in the Apple System Profiler and get a better look. I might switch the hard drive in this thing with the Maxtor 40 gigabyte 4E040L0 in the Desk Pro, because that drive's quieter and it's faster because it's 7,200 RPM. And the drive in this is 5,400 RPM or 56, I forget. iMac, PowerP or PowerMac 4.1, that's the identifier, I guess. CPU type, PowerPC 750, CXE, 600 megahertz, cache, memory, bus speed. Has the latest boot ROM version. I made sure of that before installing 10.4, but it was already installed, which is very nice. It's a Maxtor 4K 040H2. Cool, I was right. Now the CDRW drive, it's a brand called Matsushita, which I've never heard of before. I've heard of a company called Matsushita, better known in North America as Panasonic, but I've never heard of Matsushita. So I'm wondering if that's the same thing, shortened so it could fit or something. If anyone can tell me that, that'd be cool. So there's information on the hard drive. It's an ATA 100 drive, I believe. There's the two partitions for Mac OS 9 and Mac OS 10. And there's the information for the CDRW. Now, in this computer's original configuration from the factory, Mac OS 9 and Mac OS 10 were on the same partition, which can be done on Macs because, or at least with those two system software versions, because they use the same file system, Mac OS Extended. But starting with, I believe, Mac OS 10.3, they moved to Mac OS Extended Journaled, which is kind of the functional equivalent of NTFS. So, because now there has to be two different file systems, they're on two different partitions. I could have formatted it with Mac OS Extended, but why not go with the journaled version for that extra security and safety? So, there's your Apple Screamer. Sounds a lot better than Screaming, I'll tell you that. I'll play a little short music clip I ripped from one of Mom's Shania Twain CDs, so you can get an idea of how good this sounds. The best speakers I've ever heard on any computer. Open iMovie here. Turn the volume up with keys on the keyboard, and there's mute. Yeehaw. So there's that. Now we'll go into iTunes. It's iTunes 4. I don't know how far it can be upgraded, but I'll get the latest version on eventually. The only thing I really truly missed from macOS 10.1 was the pinstriping theme that was everywhere. You know, you had pinstriping on the menu bar, pinstriping on the dock, like in the Finder. Instead of this brushed metal here, you had pinstripe, and I really like that. And I've done some Googling. You get the faintest pinstriping on the folders here, but I've done some Googling, and I can't find any way to get that old theme back, which I kind of miss. This new theme with the brushed metal and the lack of pinstripes, that debuted on 10.3. So, turn the volume down here. Don't want it to be too loud. There's a classic from my early childhood, 1997.
Let's go, girls. I'm going out tonight. I'm feeling alright. Gonna let it all hang out. Wanna make some noise. Really raise my voice. Yeah, I wanna.
And so on. So we'll X out of that. I guess there's really not much else to show here. I got Mac Tracker installed. Here's another thing. I don't dislike it about the Mac OS, but it's really quirky. When you X out applications, it actually keeps them running in memory. Like, as you can see, Profiler's opened here, despite that I click the X. See, when you click the X, it's just kind of like minimizing it. Now I can minimize it like this, and you get the cool genie effect, and it shows up here. But if I exit out, it's basically the same thing, except you don't get a preview here. I gotta go to the menu here and click quit, and then it's loaded out of memory. Same thing, iTunes and Safari still open. And on a slow computer like this, that's not very cool. So I wonder if there's a way I could keep that from happening. Quit Safari, and now they're all gone from memory. You cannot open the app. What? When did I put it in the trash? Oh, I thought it was a shortcut. I guess that should go in the applications folder. So this is the last version of Mac OS that runs on this, or any G3 computer. What's going on here? Oh, it's in memory, but it ain't showing up. Maybe I gotta click it. Oh, here we go. Yeah. We go to My Models. No, not My Models. We go to Desktops, iMac, and this is the... No, I need to be in 1024. It's iMac Summer 2001. Oops. Dang it. There we go. Yada yada yada. Now it's July 2001. Available in Graphite and Snow White. Startup chime. Too bad there isn't a way to change the startup sound, but you can't because it's built right into ROM. See, you know, I'd have something like I guess I got to do this. I'd have something like the 20th anniversary Macintosh, which sounds like this. I think that sounds pretty darn cool, which it should for that price. But anyhow.